The Equality Court in Joburg found the gratuitous display of the old South African flag as, quote, a vivid symbol of white supremacy and black disenfranchisement and suppression. It also says it's the total rejection of reconciliation and a clear intention to be hurtful and to incite harm. The court ruled that displaying the flag in a gratuitous manner amounts to hate speech, but it can still be displayed for journalistic, artistic, academic purposes. The action was brought by the Nelson Mandela Foundation. The group that opposed it was AfriForum. On the line now is the CEO of AfriForum, Kallie Kriel. Kallie, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Stephen.
You opposed this application. I presume you're disappointed with this finding.
Well, of course, we believe it's a setback for freedom of expression. We're now on a slippery slope towards banning and censorship. But, of course, it's not about the flag. AfriForum is on record that we never use the old flag. We were drawn into this fight by false news that the flag was used during Black Monday. The journalist Nicholas Bauer admitted that the flags that he posted weren't taken on that day. And when we were drawn into this as a respondent by the Nelson Mandela Foundation, we had the choice to say, are we going to say we abide by banning and censorship, or are we against it? And that is the reason why we became involved. And I think it's a setback not for AfriForum, but for everybody in the country that believes in freedom of expression.
Why do you believe someone should be allowed to display this flag in a gratuitous manner?
Well, the fact is, we don't support that. And in the past, we've asked our members not to do so. But as soon as you're going to start banning things, you are going down a slippery slope where you become a police state, where the government has the ability to ban other things. And in this case, you might not like the old flag, but next time around, it might be something banned that is dear to you. And the irony of this whole fight is, the judge rightly said yesterday how bad apartheid was. We know the system infringed on the dignity of people. We know you had strong censorship. We had bannings of organizations and symbols, and you had oppression. And the big irony is that the Nelson Mandela Foundation, while Mr. Mandela is known for fighting for freedom of speech, you now have the Nelson Mandela Foundation saying, we want to fight the bad system of apartheid that used censorship and bannings. And what are we going to do? We are going to lead the country into a new route of censorship and bannings. And I believe that should be worrying to all of us.
Okay, let's just go back a little bit. You said that you discouraged your members from ever using this flag, right?
That's correct.
Ernst Roets is a senior member of your organization, right?
That's correct.
Yesterday he tweeted a picture of the flag after this ruling with the question, have I just committed hate speech? Why is he doing something that you discouraged your members from doing?
Well, I think he wanted to make a very strong point, and that point is now we are into a situation to argue what is academic freedom, because we know he's a doctorate student in law, and now that becomes a question, is this flag, if you use it to ask a legal question, is it wrong or not? It just shows how ludicrous this situation is.
Does it not actually, Kallie, is it not actually a slap in the face for the judgment, is the point? A judge just says that the gratuitous display of the old South African flag amounts to hate speech. And within minutes, hours, your senior member, and you can talk about whatever academic claim about whatever he's studying. That's not what this was about. This was about turning around and smacking most of South Africa in the face, surely, by tweeting it so quickly.
No, it was an effort to fight against new forms of oppression, that is censorship and banning, and we will continue down that route. We want to take hands with all South Africans to show how ludicrous this is. We warned beforehand that this would have the different effect than what the Nelson Mandela Foundation's effect was. Before this, the old flag was nearly forgotten. It was very, very seldom that you had somebody from the lunatic fringe using this flag. And we warned that by going into this route, you're going to give it a newfound fame. And what I've seen yesterday on media platforms, on television, not only Ernst Roets' Twitter, this flag was displayed more. The last time I saw this flag so much was in the old dispensation. And that is exactly what we warned against. now the Nelson Mandela Foundation has given this flag that we agree is hurtful and it should not be shown. It has given it cult status, which I think is bad. Secondly, it also led us down a route of banning. If now people are going to say, I'm hurt by things, it should be banned. You know, we have a member that unfortunately died earlier this year, Dirk van Eck. He lost his 2-year-old son, Dirkie van Eck, and his 8-year-old daughter and his wife in an ANC landmine. And he told me how hurtful it was for him to see the ANC flag. So what if people are now saying, you know, I lost family, innocent civilians, now the ANC's flag should be banned.
All right, Kallie, Kallie,
yes.
Hold on a sec. All right. So just to be clear, I want to pick on something you said. The judge said displaying this flag, the old South African flag, is the total rejection of reconciliation. Do you agree with that finding?
No, definitely not.
But you just said you discourage people from showing it. Then
yes,
why do you discourage people from showing it on the one side and say it's not a rejection of reconciliation on the other?
Because by banning the flag, you are just doing that. If you are, maybe I should answer your question more correctly. Is it reconciliation if you allow somebody to wave something even that you disagree with? And I believe that is. The person's waving the flag, of course, rejects reconciliation. And what we should do is to, through our deeds and through our arguments, convince people to embrace reconciliation. You can never, through bannings, force people to reconcile. That will never work. And that is what we are warning against. By trying to say we want to promote reconciliation, if you start banning things, it directly starts polarization, because people that don't even like the old flag would now say, well, we're against this kind of censorship. We now want to do it just to make our point.
All right.
Just like you've said to Adam. So actually what is now happening, reconciliation is in trouble because we went down the apartheid route of banning and censorship.
All right. Kallie, I think that there are two separate issues that I think we need to isolate here. The first is whether banning something works, and I think we've traversed that terrain quite significantly. My next question, though, is you said that you discouraged your members from displaying this old flag. You said that it is a symbol of apartheid and that apartheid was wrong. And yet it doesn't seem that you will condemn Mr. Roets for tweeting it last night when he, especially if he's a doctoral student in law, could have found another way to make his argument. Will you condemn what he did? Will you criticize it, even lightly?
No. The fact is, if he put it up there to simply say, you know, I support apartheid, then I would have condemned him without any form of hesitation. But he was trying to make the point how ludicrous this banning is. And, you know, if somebody writes a history book to make a point and puts in the old flag, we're not going to condemn them there because it's within that context.
You don't see that this is a slap in the face at all to South Africans? You don't see that?
No, I think it's a fight in favor of all people that believe in freedom of speech and believe that we should fight against banning and oppression and censorship.
And someone who is studying a doctorate in law is not able to find another way to make that argument without displaying it?
Well, he asked the question, and of course you have the right now on Twitter to say, yes, I believe so. So the problem is now we're trying to stop even debating. So now when the flag is banned, we cannot even debate the fact that when you use it in this way, is it unlawful or not?
Well, you can. This is the point. Here, let me ask the question without displaying the flag on radio where you can't display anything. Should the display of the old South African flag be banned or not? There, I did it. I mean, he could have done exactly the same.
Are you now going to condemn ENCA because yesterday on the news bulletins they used images of the old flag?
No, because the judge talks about gratuitous display. That's the difference. The judge specifically says for academic and journalistic purposes, which is what ENCA did.
Yes, and that is exactly what I told you, Mr. Roets, that it was a legal question. So that's the kind of double standards sometimes you get from journalists. You're allowed to use it for journalistic purposes, and no one else is allowed to use it for their kind of purposes. You know, and I know Mr. Roets is on record and has never displayed this flag before. He did it now when we saw the Nelson Mandela legislation going in the route of banning and censorship. And we will continue to fight that. And we should not have double standards, even trying now to stop this debate by now trying to portray Ernst Roets doing something that he definitely did not do.
A final question for you, Kallie Kriel. Are you going to appeal the ruling?
Our legal representatives will have a look at that, of course. We will have to decide on the principle of freedom of expression and banning and censorship. As I said, this ruling with regard to the old flag has no effect on us because we don't use the flag.